Good evening, Anne.
Good evening.
Thank you, Chairman. We're now live on YouTube. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Right, good evening. A warm welcome to councillors and officers attending and to members of the public and press viewing the meeting via the live stream. I hope you are all keeping well, and my best wishes go out to you all in what are still difficult times for many people. I'm Councillor David Andrews, and I'm the Chairman of East Lindsey District Council. This is a remote reconvened meeting of the full council under the new government legislation. To help assist us with the smooth running of this meeting, I'd like to cover a few housekeeping rules. Firstly, please only turn on your microphone when speaking. This is really important, otherwise the audio will become unclear with background noise. If you wish to speak to the meeting, please press the raised hand button on the participants list. I will then invite councillors to speak in the order that they requested to speak. As usual, a councillor can speak for 5 minutes on any item. A Democratic Services officer will verbally notify the councillor when 30 seconds remain and when 5 minutes is completed. If you need to leave the meeting, please verbally let me and the meeting know this before you leave. Otherwise, we won't know if you left, excuse me, due to a connectivity issue. Finally, if you experience a connectivity issue, please contact Elaine Sharp and Catherine Walton on the contact numbers that have been provided. We shall be resuming the agenda at item 14, reports from scrutiny panels. Before that, I will hand over to Anne Good to take the record of attendance. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Chairman. Councillor Aldridge. Councillor Aldridge.
He's not.
Thank you. Councillor Andrews.
Present.
Councillor Ashton.
Present.
Councillor Richard Avison is an apology, I understand, as is Councillor Stan Avison. Councillor Adrian Benjamin.
Present.
Councillor Wendy Bowkett.
Present.
Councillor Billy Brooks.
Present.
Councillor Danny Brooks.
Present.
Councillor Jimmy Brooks.
Present.
Councillor Trevor Burnham is an apology. Councillor Sandra Campbell-Wardman.
Present.
Councillor Graham Cullen.
Present.
Councillor Richard Cunnington.
It's not in.
Thank you. Councillor Mark Dannett. Apology, I believe. Councillor Colin Davey is an apology. Councillor Sid Dennis. Not present, thank you. Councillor Sarah Devereux is an apology. Councillor Colin Dickinson.
Present.
Councillor Dick Edgington.
Present.
Councillor Stephen Eyre.
Present.
Councillor Martin Foster.
Present.
Councillor Richard Fry.
Present.
Councillor William Gray.
Present.
Councillor Chris Green.
Present.
Councillor Adam Grist.
Present.
Councillor Will Grover. Councillor Grover.
He's not present at the
No,
moment.
thank you. Councillor Alex Hall.
Present.
Councillor David Hall.
Present. Also, Tony Howard is going to be late. He's stuck in traffic.
Thank you. Councillor Sandra Harrison.
Present.
Councillor Paul Hibbert-Greaves.
Present.
Councillor George Horton.
Present.
Councillor Tony Howard is delayed.
I am, no,
Oh, you
I'm
are here.
It's Councillor Smith who's going to be delayed.
Right, well done. Thank you, Councillor Howard.
Okay.
Councillor Ross Jackson.
Present, with apologies that I'll have to leave and hopefully return.
Thank you. Councillor Neil Jones.
Present.
Councillor Thomas Kemp.
Present.
Councillor Steve Kirk.
Not present at the moment.
Present, thank you. Councillor Terry Knowles.
Present.
Councillor Andrew Leonard.
Present.
Councillor Craig Leyland.
Present.
Councillor Jill Makinson Sanders.
Present.
Councillor David Manjon.
Present.
Councillor Graham Marsh.
Present.
Councillor Fiona Martin.
Present.
Councillor Helen Matthews.
Present.
Councillor Steve McMillan.
Not present.
Oh, I think that's an apology. Yeah, Councillor McMillan is an apology. Councillor Daniel McNally.
Present.
Councillor Edward Mossop.
Present.
Councillor Claire Newman.
Present.
Councillor Sarah Parkin.
Present. I will be only here for the first hour as I have a parish council at 7:30.
Thank you. Councillor Julie Platt.
Present.
Councillor Paul Rickett.
Present.
And I understand Councillor Phil Smith is delayed. Councillor Jim Swanson.
I'm here.
Thank you. I'm just going to go back because I saw Councillor Grover had arrived while I was reading the names out. So Councillor Grover, you are present now.
Present, yes, thank you.
Thank you very much. That concludes. Thank you, Chairman.
Okay, thank you very much, Anne. Councillor Leyland, do you wish to speak?
Yes, Chairman, if I can just beg your indulgence. At last meeting, we were celebrating the fact that we had the Towns Fund award, which was fantastic news. And we gave a lot of praise to the officers involved in that, and also the other endeavours that we were talking about in the leaders' report. I think because we're having this meeting at such short notice, I think we need to give great credit for the office team that actually keeps the council running and going on, on a day-to-day basis, and that's our democratic services team and member services. So without everyone joining in to thank them, I think as leader of the council, it's just appropriate that we acknowledge all the hard work that goes on to keep us functioning on a day-to-day basis. So Anne and your team, Elaine, everyone involved in that is much appreciated. Thank you.
Yeah, I would agree with that, Councillor Leyland. Thank you. Okay, so we go to item 14, report from scrutiny and policy panels, implementation of Boston Borough Council and East Lindsey District Council Strategic Alliance to consider the scrutiny report. Councillor Jill Markington Sanders, please.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Well, this report was finished and submitted at the very beginning of December, and the Alliance has moved on considerably in the intervening 3.5 months, but the relevance of this scrutiny shouldn't be lost. I can't add a recommendation to this report, as it wouldn't actually be relevant, but I think this council does need to coordinate its scrutiny process more closely with the cycle of meetings, so as the council can capitalise on scrutiny work more positively, because had we not had adjourned and come back today, this would have gone through till May. I do ask that we should consider looking at how we put these into our calendar at relevant forums. But after that, onto the Boston scrutiny. And I'd like to start by praising the team who made up this scrutiny. We met every Monday afternoon in the darkening days of autumn, and it was practically 100% attendance for the duration of the work. And that is pretty outstanding. And what a good-natured and diligent group it was. And a big thank you to all our witnesses who patiently took on board our somewhat idiosyncratic probing. And thank you too to Rebecca James. To quote Mr. Leyland, she's a real exemplar as a scrutiny officer. So thank you very much indeed, Rebecca, for your help. This scrutiny was designed to be the start of looking at how services will pan out as we go forward and how we can work more effectively with our colleagues in Boston. There is more work to do, and we're waiting for the call. Boston, for everybody's information, operates a different scrutiny system from us. They have two scrutiny committees who look at specific issues which are to be decided by their cabinet, which is the equivalent of our executive board. And recently, Councillor Mrs. Martin and Councillor Edward Mossop met the Boston chairman and their vice chairman, and I know they're happy to report back to the council on this further step forward. The intention is that this is the start of a range of scrutiny work, looking at how we harmonise the work of the two councils, whilst importantly keeping our own separate identities. And our recommendations are here for you all to see, and I hope you'll agree that they'll help smooth the way forward for the successful start, the integration of our work with Boston. I hope nobody's got too difficult questions, but over to anybody that needs to comment. Oh, excuse me, that's my blooming phone ringing.
Someone's got a phone ringing.
It's mine. I can't stop it, unfortunately. I put a cushion over it.
All right. That's it, you finished. Okay, Councillor Craig Leyland, please.
Thank you, Chairman. And can I thank Councillor Maxton Sanders for the report and the nature and the spirit in which the work was done. I think it was very productive, and that was very welcome. I certainly welcome the report, and I think it shows that that this council is open to the process of the alliance and improving and getting better. And the work of scrutiny is all about making sure that happens. So fully welcome the report. And the exemplar word is going to be my version of Doreen Stevenson saying in that respect. So I'll have to live with that. But thank you very much for keep prompting me on that. But in overall essence, very, very welcoming of the report. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Councillor Fiona Martin, please.
Thank you, Chairman. Well, if Councillor Makinson Saunders has moved this paper for noting, then I'll formally second it. And just to say that Councillor Mossop and myself, as Chair and Vice Chair of Overview, as has already been referred to, did have an informal meeting with the chairs and vice chairs of Boston Borough Council, really to start a dialogue going about how we might fulfil the agreement that was signed between our two councils of having an annual joint scrutiny, and also to look at possibilities of doing joint scrutiny on topics in the future, because the one that springs to mind is the one that's about to come up in a few minutes, which is the CCT refurbishment project that was a joint project between Boston Borough and East Lindsey. And actually, it would be silly for two councils to do separate scrutiny reports and panels into that particular piece of work. So there may well be pieces of work going forward where it's sensible for us to get together to do some joint scrutiny on pieces of work. So I would like, as Chairman of Overview, to thank the panel who worked extremely hard on this, and Rebecca James, who's already been mentioned, but she is a superb resource for scrutiny, I have to say, and we are very grateful to her for the work that she does. So having said all that, I'd like to recommend this paper to you.
Thank you, Councillor Martin. Councillor Tom Ashton, please.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Just as I omitted in the declaration section, just to record that I'm an elected member of Boston Borough Council, and to qualify that by reassuring colleagues that any decisions that I make in this chamber exclusively as an executive member of this authority. I would simply add that, having read the report, it's an excellent piece of work, and it's good to see such an informative, constructive and good-natured piece of scrutiny coming forward. I think it covers a lot of bases that's really, really helpful to me as an exec board member here. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Ashton. Right, there doesn't seem to be anyone else wishing to speak. So I'll go back to Councillor Jill Makinson-Sanders. Did you want to reply?
Thank you, everybody. And I think it's a really good example of cross-party working. I and it really was very good natured. It's probably one of the best bits of scrutiny I've been involved in. So thank you very much indeed, and thank you for the opportunity to do it. It was very informative, and we got to the bottom of quite a lot of things that were interesting, actually. So thank you, and we look forward to doing some more scrutiny work. When we look at different service departments. I think the waste department might be one that's coming up to be integrated quite soon, and it'd be interesting to follow that one up as well. So thank you very much indeed. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for your report.
Thank you.
So that's for noting. So we carry on to 14B, CCTV refurbishment project, to consider a scrutiny report. Councillor Neil Jones, please.
Good evening, Chairman, councillors, members of the public and press. I'd just like to say that point out that this scrutiny report is not intended to look at the effectiveness of the CCTV system, to review the CCTV refurbishment and delivery and overrun. But having said that, DNA CCTV is the main arm of successful police detection. It also reduces the fear of crime and greatly enhances the community safety. I'm most grateful for the dedicated team of officers. Again, Rebecca helped greatly with this, and the time of panel members, and the contribution of Councillor Marsh for his knowledge with the help of this report. You will have read the papers, but in short, in March 2015, the Executive Committee agreed to commit 425,000 to carry out a refurbishment of the scheme by replacing all 98 cameras over the district, which is 7 parishes, by replacing them with ELD specification and with a central shared control monitoring station managed by staff at Boston. It is important to note that we would not be able to have a system like this without the partnership. Town Council's system alone costs about £6,000, would be £30,000 if they had to run it themselves. Based on the initial contract, the projected payback was 2.85 years. That was to March 2019. The investment of 425,000 was paid back by April 2020. Although delayed, the savings are significant. There will be a total annual saving of £160,000 from the original CCTV operating budget. After the payback of the capital, which has happened, the savings are split 50-50 with Boston. Boston has developed its monitoring station to include South Holland, North Kesteven and Sleaford. And of the 200 cameras that they actually monitor, 98, that's almost half, are East Lindsey's. So we do get value for money. The delay was mainly due to British Telecom supplying the digital network, but they obviously had larger things, mainly the outlay of broadband at the time. Lincolnshire County Council were not always helpful and delayed installation, but in part due to legislation. And the other difficulty, obviously, cameras are often powered by private property owners and installation had to be negotiated. Overall, the recommendations are we must try and ensure that the system remains cost effective. Future contracts need to be closely monitored, probably with penalties for delays, because obviously Boston monitored this contract and we couldn't go directly to the people involved. Number 3, good warranty support and future proofing for repairs and replacement. This project was not compromised by the delay. The project is value for money and is making significant savings. The new digital system has scope for development, enhancement and future effectiveness. And I believe that the ongoing partnership is soundly managed and working well. Thank you very much indeed, Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Jones. Councillor Jill Makinson-Sanders, please.
I ought to know the answer to this because I was actually on that scrutiny group as well. Is there a sinking fund established for the replacement of the cameras for when we get to that, please? Because I can't remember what the lifespan of the cameras is, but it's going to be that'll be a chunk of money that we'll have to set aside, isn't it?
Okay. Yeah, I The only bit I can answer that really is to say that I'm not sure if there is a sinking fund. However, these cameras are not anywhere near as expensive as the old system, and they can be enhanced fairly regularly, and they can be enhanced by different makes and models. So it isn't reliant purely on this system. And I understand that that is a very effective way for the future enhancement and development of the system.
Thank you. Councillor Tony Howard, please.
Thank you, Chair. I think the biggest lesson of all that we've learned over this contract is that we have to bear in mind who we're going into contract with and the relative size of the different operations. And when we're dealing with very large organisations, we have to be aware that our priorities may be overshadowed by the larger body having far greater priorities that they are more interested in. So I think the recommendations about penalties and for delays and things like that, yes, we must look at these in the future, because it's not always David who comes out on top in the David and Goliath situations. And this was one occasion when it was definitely a home win rather than an away win.
I have to agree with you, Councillor Howard.
You want to say anything else, Councillor Jones?
No, nothing more. I just agree with Councillor Howard, and that is very much at the forefront of the officers, and they are very much aware of that and the management of the system. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. No one else seems to want to talk. So that Councillor Fiona Martin, come in very late.
Sorry, Chairman. I was just going to, if it had been moved, I was going to second that the report was noted, and just say on both reports that overview look forward to these reports going to the relevant portfolio holder or exec board and receiving the feedback as soon as possible so we can start tracking the recommendations from the reports, please. And also just to follow Councillor Makinson Saunders' point up, I do think we do need to look possibly shortly at the timetabling of council meetings and overview meetings and how they fit in to receive reports. Because as you rightly said at the beginning of this meeting, and we did have the debate a week ago, if we hadn't had tonight's meeting, then it would have been several months before these reports went to full council. So perhaps whilst we're looking at next year's calendar, I'm sure Anne, Will and John and everybody looking at it will take on board what's been said this evening. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay. So it's been presented, been seconded, so that report is for noting. Thank you. So we move on to agenda item 15, the minutes of the Audit and Governance Committee. To receive the confirmed minutes of the Audit and Governance Committee held on the 18th of November 2020 and the draft minutes of the Audit and Governance Committee held on the 20th of January 2021. Councillor Paul, if it agrees, please.
Yes, I'd like to propose that we bring these before council as a due and just record of the meetings.
Thank you. Could someone second that, please, who's on the committee?
I'll second that, Mr. Chairman. It's Councillor Grover.
Yeah, thank you very much. Okay, so it's been presented and seconded, so that's for noting. Is there any questions? Right, so we move on to item 16, motion on notice. To receive a motion on notice under Council Procedure Rule 12, proposed by Councillor Jill Making-Sanders and seconded by Councillor Orton. So Councillor Jill Making-Sanders, over to you.
Again, thank you very much. Right, well, okay, a week in politics is a long time, and 14 days needed to submit a motion is almost a lifetime when we're dealing with a pandemic where things change daily. And this motion was actually submitted over a month ago. So please bear with me this evening. I had started out wanting to ask the council to put its money where its mouth is for the next couple of years and seek to put the vast majority of our spending with Lincolnshire companies, keeping it local. But sadly, procurement rules mean that the motion, or meant that the motion had to be rewritten. I've actually had to rewrite all the blurb to this 4 times now. But no worries, I'm here tonight to ask, like Mr. Sunak did last week, that whatever it takes in this crisis to build for our future. And like he told us, every job lost is a tragedy, and we need to protect livelihoods. We're lucky to have a dedicated staff who've been keeping the home fires burning. Our services have been operating seamlessly for our residents throughout the last year, but they have got plenty of work on their shoulders. And I know many councillors have been working within their communities, but what I'm asking for tonight is for all our councillors, regardless of politics, to work together here to come up with innovative ideas of how we can support our struggling local businesses. And please don't leave it just to our portfolio holders. We're all here to contribute and support them. We've proved of late we can do quick and effective scrutinies, and our local economy is calling out for us to fly the flag for East Lindsey. And just to put this in proportion, we have more people on furlough in East Lindsey than live in Alford and Spilsby put together. Yes, Alford and Spilsby put together. Furlough's been extended, and we need to capitalise on this and support both the employee and the employer. And make no mistake, there's a lot of very worried people out there. Redundancies and increasing debt are truly frightening. Our non-essential shops will open again, hopefully on April the 12th. So sadly now it's only a month, but give or take Easter, to launch innovative new buy local, support your independent strategies designed to work for coast and country. Using the expertise of councillors who know the word on the street, we can put real meaning into our new buzz phrase, and thank you, Mr. Leader, it's vital to be viable. We don't have to invent the wheel. Let's copy what other places where we know it works well, Calderdale, for instance. And we know that £10 spent in a local business, at least £6.50 stays in the local community against £4, I think it is, for multinationals. And buying local certainly ticks the requirements of the green agenda. Grimsby and Cleethorpes, for instance, have an excellent localised food ordering app. It's bright, cheerful, really well used, and works like a charm. Why don't we develop the same here, localised to make it work for our struggling pubs, restaurants and cafes? Or we could have individual town apps. I think that's a bit longer term though. Lots of ideas of how we can give our markets a boost, running specialist events on Sundays, bakery days, brocante, I'm sorry, Mr. Leyland, more teenage markets, for instance. We can support our very hard-hit charities by returning to our successful charity market stores on Saturdays, and that could be at minimal cost to them, and it will add to the market attractions for our residents. And give us an expert to infuse us with information about Restart, Kickstart and apprenticeships. Councillors can and should be helpful at signposting and highlighting what's on offer to all our local shops and factories and businesses. We can all drop off flyers, it costs the council nothing. If we each create just one new job, that's an achievement. If we could meet once or twice a week for just an hour at a time as the roadmap unfurls, we can look at selected areas of action, we can share ideas, and we can come up with an action plan and then work with our hard-working officers to bring our ideas into fruition. I know councillors have lots of enthusiasm, which should be channeled now into positive ideas for boosting our recovery. From little schemes to more adventurous longer-term ideas, make us work for our money. The Chancellor told the nation earlier, today, it was last Wednesday, wasn't it? This pandemic has caused one of the most sustained economic shocks ever. And I'll be shocked if councillors don't want to play an active part in making our communities vitally viable and encouraging all residents to shop local. Sadly, I missed bringing this up at overview yesterday because of the rearrangement, but I'm sure we can work something out if councillors are willing to get on board and help, which I hope they are. Thank you. Phew.
Thank you. Councillor Alton, did you wish to speak?
Yes, thank you, Chair. It gives me pleasure to second this motion, and I do reserve my right to reply if necessary. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Danny Brooks, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
I totally support this motion. I believe that as much money as the council can spend in the local economy and provide that sort of business support, we should be doing. I know the procurement rules are difficult. I know the situation, but as much as we can spend and do to help our local businesses, I think we should be doing.
Thank you. Councillor Tony Howard, please.
Thank you, Chair. I'm sure that the two councillors who have brought this are full of ideas, and I heard loads and loads of them coming from the proposer there. But the motion is lacking in any detail of what we're going to support or whatever. It kind of states the position that I believe that this council is in at the present time, where it is possible and the confines of the procurement rules allow, the council does try and keep business local. And this is, if there was the list of ideas being put forward to develop a strategy, or there was a motion to say, let's go away and build a strategy along these lines, then that would be something I could support. But to be quite honest, what's in front of us now is almost like learning us to breathe. And for that, I'll abstain and see if there's something more comes, if it goes to overview, etc. But I say it does seem just like trying to teach us to breathe, and I won't be voting for it.
Thank you. Councillor Andrew Leonard, please.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, why would you not want to vote for this? At the end of the day, we meet as a council infrequently. So if we're going to meet regularly to support the local businesses, obviously I have a local business which is in the town. We're the boots on the ground as councillors as well, more over the point, because we know what's going on in our districts and what might be suitable for a recovery in our districts. Far better we help and give an input than sit and say nothing and just relying officers at Tedder Hall to actually make decisions for us. We're here to help our community, so why would we not want to help? And I'm sure the district council would say, why would it not want to facilitate that option? And secondly, if I may ask, probably Councillor Fry a question as such, because if we're in a procurement group, what does it cost us to be in that procurement group? What is the fee we pay annually to be in that procurement group? To actually get a relative figure for me as a newcomer, whether it's actually viable financially that we should be in something like that. But yeah, as a general rule of thumb, day to day, if we met once a week, if only for an hour, just to throw things in the pot that's happening in our community and how we could help as a district council, then I think we'd be totally wrong not to do so. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Ellen Matthews, please.
Thank you. I know there's a lot of work actually going on, and I know there is the Love Local, although I've yet to get it on the coast. But I do think we are entering the post-pandemic period, and things are going to be different. We've lost businesses along the way. People are having to diversify. We're going to go forward where there's still going to be regulations in place around social distancing and various other things, and that they might be in place for quite a long time yet. Yeah. We just don't know what's going to happen really. But I do like the idea of the fact that Jill mentions about councillors knowing their own wards and constituency and their own locality, and then bringing the information from there and working together with officers to see how we can best help our communities going forward. I think that's a good constructive thing to do.
Thank you. Councillor Adam Grist, please. Councillor Grist. I think you're on mute.
Chairman, I'm here. Can you hear me?
I can now.
Hello.
Hello.
Can you hear me? I've got my usual connectivity. connectivity problems, but I'll try and have a go.
We can hear you now, but start from the beginning, please.
Yeah, thanks, Chairman. I think Councillor Makinson-Saunders made some very good points in her opening remarks, and I find it difficult for any of us to disagree with most of them in terms of the support and the mechanisms that we should look as a council to have in place to support the local economy now more than ever. As we exit COVID and this lockdown period, our local businesses and shops are going to need more support than they've ever had. And I know for a fact that the officer team have been working very closely with myself, Councillor Kirk, and other colleagues on the executive board in order to put some actions in place to help and support businesses as much as possible. As has been said just a moment or two ago, there's sort of two sides to this motion. Councils, I've long thought councils should do everything they can in terms of procurement to support local businesses, and I think that probably does need looking at and revision, particularly in the light of things like the great news last week about the Towns Fund. There's some serious money that potentially could be spent in this district in the next few years, and it would be a tragedy if a lot of that went or was awarded to businesses wider afield when there's potentially someone who could do that work in the district. So that's certainly something that should be looked at. In terms of the sort of sounding board, the ideas, as I said, there's an awful lot of work that's going on. We've got a great officer team. Councillor Makinson-Saunders is aware of that because she has a relation who is in the ED team. And they do an awful lot of terrific work under very challenging circumstances, in particular in the last sort of 12, 18 months. But we've got some really, I think, some really good positive ideas as we exit lockdown. But yes, of course, they could be enhanced and refined. So over the course of the last 12 months, I've had Zoom meetings with councillors across the market towns. I'm sure Councillor Kirk has done the same on the coast. More than happy to look to set some those up again and discuss whether a wider sounding board bringing everyone together will work. I don't know. What we could look to do perhaps better is to share those best practices and ideas across the district. But I think it's a case of the more heads, the more brains that look at this, the more pairs of hands that are on this, the better, because I do think that things will get worse before they get better. As Councillor Makinson-Saunders said, there's a very high number of our residents who are on furlough, and they all probably will not exit furlough into a job. So I think in terms of local economy, we've got some really severe challenges before we start to see an upward trajectory on the graph, if you like. So how we do it, I don't know. I'll give that some thought. I'll speak to Councillor Kirk and colleagues, but I think the principle of this motion is sound. We're all in this together. We've all got to find a way to find the answers to move the local economy along and get on the right track as quickly as possible. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. Could I ask Councillor Makinson-Saunders, Councillor Howard, Councillor Matthews, and Councillor Chris, take your hands down, please.
Yeah.
I've got people waiting to talk and I can't see who it is. Right, Councillor Craig Leyland, please.
Thank you, Chairman. Again, I think the intent of the motion is good, and it should be what we should be doing as a council anyway. And I'm very pleased to hear Councillor Grist explain that actually we do have quite a significant programme of support coming out very shortly that's been discussed by office and the exec board in briefings over the last few weeks. We've recently discussed, well, actually this evening, a support package for the hospitality industry and how we help with that. So there is lots of things on the go. They will land very shortly. And it is critical that we support our businesses. And, you know, there's quite a few on this call tonight, meeting tonight, that are in business, like myself and Councillor Leonard and others who are shut at the moment. And the reopening is not going to be without its stress. It's an unknown quantity how this will all land. We're very hopeful. I'm certainly very hopeful that we're going to have, you know, quite a quick pickup in the economy, but that's not going to be shared by everyone and enjoyed by everyone. So there will be challenges out there, but I'm you know, quite content. I'm sure there is more that we could do of what we are doing, and Councillor Gris gave a hint of that. The intent of the motion is to talk about, part of it was about procurement rules. Those are fairly fixed. They are under review with the economic development team as we speak, and we'll be going forward. But there are certain things that are fixed. I think what's going to be quite interesting, there's new advice coming from the Crown Office. Now, obviously, we now live in a post-Brexit world, and that means the procurement basis is now not across the continent. It's limited to the UK, unless you do want to choose to use a European contractor. So there will be changes in that legislation, and certainly the framework that we use and the criteria for contract procedure rules, you know, will be looked at. As they stand, there is allowance and space to support local contractors and suppliers. I think the wider point that you're making, Councillor Mackinson-Sanders, is a fair one, that actually there are a lot of smaller initiatives that can pay dividends for pubs and hotels about local supply. But that actually will be very local. That will be a very local solution to a hotel working locally, going to using the local meat suppliers or fruit and veg suppliers, and that probably sort of exists in itself anyway. But there's no harm in us actually seeing if we can support that, because that's exactly what we should be doing as councillors. And again, I'm very pleased with the work that our ED teams are doing as we deal with this. But you know, it's not going to be without challenge. It's very fast moving how we're coming out of lockdown. There's no and that also the phased approach to it. You know, then there still might be stresses and strains as we come out of it. We don't know when those particular dates are going to land. You know, in Woodall, we've cancelled a number of events, and I know that's happened across the district, that, you know, would have brought many people into our communities to spend in the businesses. So there's a lot of unknowns out there, and I'm, as I say, content that our officers and portfolio holders are doing all that they can to that. But you know, the points that you make are helpful. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Sarah Parkin, please.
Thank you, Chairman. Just to say something different, in agreement with what has already been said, obviously, I think the real key to getting this right is that we listen directly to businesses themselves. They know their trade, they know our places better than we do, they know their customer base better than we do. And I know that in Louth we have seen some fantastic initiatives and some brilliant businesses who have really thought on their feet to meet public need in the most tenuous of times. And so I think my additional comments, as well as on top of everything that has been said so far, is that we must get behind what they want us to do. This can't be about what we think as a council or what we think as councillors should happen, but I want each and every one of us to commit to supporting the ideas that the businesses, that our local businesses themselves come up with, and that we are the champions of those ideas.
Thank you. Councillor David Mannion, please.
Thank you. Like everybody else, I find a lot of merit in this motion. I think, however, as Councillor Howard put it, the issue is the substance of the motion. And to me, there are two forms of supporting the local economy. First of all, I think the question is, to encourage residents to shop local wherever they can. And I think we've got to remember that the buying power of the residents and the spending power of the residents is probably far outweighs that what ELDC has to offer. In terms of the looking at what I think Councillor Mackinson-Sanders was referring to, which is the large projects, then I think it's a question of who is available to do it. We should encourage local businesses to bid for the contracts, but I think we are bound to observe the procurement rules and to offer value for money. But I think encouraging residents to shop local would be something ELDC could do magnificently well. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Councillor Phil Smith, please.
Thank you, and my apologies for coming to the meeting a little late. I'm not really sure what the rules are on this, but when I read the motion originally, I thought it was lacking in substance a little bit. It's, you know, a sort of mission statement with no real actions in it. But then when Jill spoke, you know, she was full of really great and constructive things. One of which was this idea that we don't meet very often. Maybe we need to meet more often. Maybe these are things that we can bring to the table and so on. With, as Sarah says, local business and so on. So I don't know if I'm allowed to make an amendment on a motion, but if I can, I would like to amend to this motion that the council meet on a regular basis, say every couple of weeks, herein in a sort of reserved members' day style, where we meet with the officers, we discuss those things that are coming forward, so we're properly briefed on all of those great things that Craig was telling us about that are coming in the pipeline, and we can then sort of discuss how we tailor that for our local needs, and we can get those voices from local business in there as well. So that's what I'd like to propose, that solid action that we have more regular meetings, and that they are of a sort of mixed nature, like members' days are, if I'm allowed to do that.
Yeah. Rob or John, can this be done?
Chairman, would you like me to come in here?
Yes, please, John.
Yeah, it is possible for councillors to amend a motion, but you need a specific form of words that you are advising council that how you would wish to amend that motion, and then you will need a seconder.
Yes.
So I propose that we amend the motion to say that the council will meet regularly and frequently to discuss localized methods of encouraging local business and localism, and that we do this as councillors, officers, and business community leaders communally. That's my off the top of my head wording.
Is there a seconder for that?
Mr. Chairman, I'm quite happy to second it. Yeah, well, I was going to second it because it sort of adds on to I was going to actually explain why my motion was like it was, and it probably needed a bit more help towards it. But John Medler, poor old thing, was on a holiday when I sent it in. He had to get in touch with me and tell me it wasn't legal to put the motion that I had initially put. So we had to put something together so that we could get something to the council, so we could actually have this debate. And thank you all for having a very lively debate. It's really refreshing, and so I'm quite happy to second Councillor Smith, as long as we can start it quite rapidly, because we don't have an awful lot of time to try and get things sorted out. So if you just want to add that onto your motion, I'm happy to second that.
Just a point of order, Chair. I don't think a point of order. I don't believe that can be done, because I'm here to second the original motion. Now the proposer has already changed it, and I don't agree with that.
Okay, right.
We're discussing the original motion. A amendment
I've
has
got
come in.
him on the list.
What?
Sorry,
An
no,
amendment-
Yeah, sorry, go on, George, sorry.
An amendment has come in, which obviously needs seconding, and then that is discussed. But I'm here to second the original motion.
Right. I won't second it for the moment then.
No.
Yeah. Okay.
So
I'll
we
be
need
quiet again.
We need another seconder then.
I'm quite happy to second this, Councillor David Hall.
Okay, thank you. So it's been proposed and been seconded. Do we vote on this now, John?
No, we have a discussion, Chairman.
Thank you,
Okay,
Chairman.
thank you.
Chairman, you're now got a proposal and a seconder for an amendment. So you're now discussing just the amendment.
Right, okay.
Thank you.
So we're going to debate the amendment. So if the hands that are up are to talk on the amendment, leave them there. If not, could you take them down, please? Okay, I'll start with Councillor Phil Smith, please. Or should you have taken your
Sorry
hand?
about that. I should have taken that down. Sorry, I didn't realise it was still there on it.
Yeah. Right, Councillor Jim Swanson, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I actually was in process of taking my hand down, but since you've called me, let me speak. I might not be exactly talking to the amendment, but I do really support the policy, and I support the amendment of amending the proposal so that it makes more sense. But I have a particular problem in that in a rural ward, there aren't many enterprises that we could encourage. But I do believe that we should encourage rural growth, because rural growth will help reduce traveling to industrial areas and things like that. So said in a very impolite way, people can go to work on their bike. And I believe that should come into some kind of collective discussion that will get the way, whether it's the council leading or engendering. I don't know, but in particular, I believe that through the planning system, there ought to be a policy that engenders new policy for planning approval for enterprises in the rural environment, because apart from farms, there aren't too many little businesses around the place, but growth would come from those things. And I'm sorry if I'm not quite talking to the amendment, but I would just like
Jim,
that to be considered.
Jim, you must stick to the amendment, because this is what we're debating now.
Well, I'm totally confused as to what the amendment actually was, because nobody's actually read out any words.
Yeah. The Councillor Phil Smith did read out. Anyway, we'll move on to Councillor Danny McNally, please.
Thank you, Chairman. There is a great danger here. I think that we're trying to make something up in the next 10 or 15 minutes to put on paper. And I think if we want to get this right, I mean, the whole spirit of it is the right thing to do. But I think if we want to get it right, then really, I think there needs to be a bit more thought in what we're saying here, and it needs to go to overview to be discussed in detail. I think I don't think we can just say, let's meet more. I can see Councillor Leyland waving his hands there. I don't know if he wants to come in.
Well, he's next, actually.
Oh.
Thank you, Chairman. Can I speak, please? Thank you.
Yes, certainly.
I'm coming back, though.
All right.
Oh, wait a minute,
Danny.
Danny.
I didn't mean to cut across you.
Councillor McNally's not finished yet.
I beg your pardon.
Shall we let him finish? Yeah,
indeed.
Thank you, Chairman. Yeah, I mean, there's a couple of bits that were said earlier on, like charity stalls on the Saturday. Well, in all fairness, the stalls, as far as I can see, they're £10 or £12 for the day. I mean, how, you know, I don't really think we need to be giving them away anymore. And as far as having meetings within the council, I think it's up to every member really to learn the businesses around the area, and most of us do, you know, and then find out and then bring it forward at some point. But I don't think we need to be meeting every week or, you know, every 2 weeks to throw a load of stuff around the room that possibly it might be good, it might not be good. But I think a bit, you could maybe set up your own sort of bid, bit like the Skegness Mablethorpe bid, but just without all the officer input. And then once you actually finalise something that everyone wants, then take it forward. So I just feel that it's the right thing to do, but I think there just needs to be a bit more thought in it. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. Councillor Craig Leyland, please.
Thank you, Chair. I think the original intent of the motion to garner a discussion about what we're doing as a council to support local businesses is exactly the correct thing to do. I can't support the motion because we're on the cusp of creating X numbers of meetings when we know that there's you know, that the whole infrastructure of the council is stressed at the moment. What we need to do is allow what we're doing to land so that we can see and all councillors can understand what projects are going to be delivered by the ED team that support local businesses. I think we need to then, on the back of that, potentially have a discussion through the systems and committees that we have in place. So overview and all the things that we do through that. I know it's time consuming, but to suddenly create meetings on the back of a motion tonight that is in its place is a good discussion point, but shouldn't actually be driving any particular actions from it because the motion is so wide and unfocused. And that, I don't think that was the intention to be totally focused. It was a discussion point. I fully get that. But to create meetings on the back of it, which we have no set agenda for of what they will do and the purpose, I think we need to allow the work of the council to happen in terms of the ED team's stuff to land, and we will take it from there. I think this is preempting all the work that we're doing and potentially could be quite destructive to it, which I would hate to see. Let's let the work land, let's let it get delivered, and then we can make a judgment on it. I think the intent and, you know, all the portfolios are listening very carefully to the wishes of this council to make sure that we support our business. That is received loud and clear. We have no issue with that at all because it's something that we've been working diligently at since we've been aware that we're going to be coming out of lockdown, and before that, because we knew recovery was going to be an important phase of how we dealt with the lockdown. So if I can give assurance from the executive side of this council that actually this is work we are doing, it would be really critical that that is allowed to land and people then can critique it. But we're doing a lot of work already working with businesses. We just need to be allowed to continue it without confusing it and clouding the issue with more meetings. And I'm sorry to be so brutal about it, but I think that's what would happen. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Leyland. Councillor Jill Makinson-Sanders, please.
Well, I do think actually Councillor Smith is right. Time is of the essence, and we have no clue what economic development are proposing. What I was trying to get at was we do have a lot of knowledge on the ground, and we should be helping officers along the way. I don't think what Councillor Leyland is saying is actually assisting the officers. We're never included in any of these discussions, and I think it's really important, if we're passionate about where we live and we know lots of people that are running businesses, that we should be having an input as well. And that's why I think it's important to, you know, it's just like a very, very quick scrutiny, really. We don't have to go on for months. It could just be a month-long thing. If we throw things up in the air and discuss them, at least councillors are working together, and we are seen by the community as working together.
Chairman, can I have a point of order? Are we time limited on speaking here? Because Councillor Makinson-Sanders has had her time. She's now taking the second bite, and then she'll be doing it again at the end of the debate, it does.
No,
need
I'm
to-
speaking to the amendment, Mr.
She's speaking
Councillor.
to the amendment,
Councillor.
Councillor Marsh.
Yeah, I'm speaking to the amendment, not to the original.
Are you finished then? Okay, Councillor.
Yeah, that'll do.
Please.
Was that Matthews?
Yes, Councillor Ellen Matthews, yeah. You're on mute.
Sorry. I like the spirit of what you were talking about, Jill. But I think this amendment's just making it too complicated. Meeting more, not being focused, and meeting regularly isn't really going to resolve it. And I think we just need to make sure we're not duplicating, that we are working with the expertise of the officers and the ED team. And just that if there is something that you maybe to, think about, would be like a post-pandemic vital and viable workshop. That sort of format I would be able to support. But your motion in general, I do, but I won't be supporting the amendment.
Yeah. Councillor Tony Howard, please.
Okay. I thank Councillor Smith for bringing this forward. I think that's just what was missing in the original, was that we needed something to focus on. And I take on board everything that Councillor Leyland has said, but I think if we were to meet in the form of a reserved members' day, that would be an ideal opportunity for officers and the executive to put their ideas to the full membership of the council. And it would also provide that opportunity for those members to feed back in ideas from business as well. So I think it does sharpen up the motion and give it that clarity that was missing from the original. And I will be supporting the amendment of the motion. Thank you, Chair.
Right, thank you. Can Councillor Mr. Sanders and Councillor Ellen Matthews please take your hand down? Thank you. Councillor George Horton, please.
Thank you, Chair. As I said, I was going to originally second the motion put forward by Councillor Mackinson Sanders. However, we have had an amendment to that, which I cannot support, to be quite honest. Listening to the comments from colleagues, it was interesting. I picked up a couple of words, particularly from Councillor Howard, of strategy. And I think that's exactly right. When you're looking at a motion like this, to go forward, you need a strategy. So I would totally agree with Councillor Howard and Councillor Leonard, recovery. And that is a big word. And that is what we need. Now, the problem being, we are a district with so much diversity in business, be it from farming to the entertainment world or leisure, be it from the local butcher, to the car mechanic. There are so many businesses within our district. And I was going to put a motion or an additional amendment to Jill's original motion, but I know we're discussing the amendment at the moment. So when it would be appropriate to put a further amendment through, Chair?
Well,
Chairman, if you'd like me to come in, the council can only deal with one amendment at a time. So it needs to deal with this amendment first before considering any further amendments.
Okay. Well, just to let me continue, if I may. I think the problem is that sometimes as councillors, and through no fault of our own, we don't know particular businesses, how they run and what the problems are. I think it's so important. I think that's already been suggested, that we talk to local businesses and find out what they need, what plan they have for recovery coming out of the COVID situation. As I say, we are such a wide district and such a diverse in industry, but let's be fair, none of us know what the local businesses want to aid that recovery. And as I say, I don't think a meeting, we have a lot of meetings. We have parish meetings, committee meetings, scrutiny meetings, full council meetings. What I was going to propose, I think to have another meeting that was suggested is totally wrong. What I would suggest, a working group or a workshop be set up, where if you have an input to it, you attend, not to have a full council meeting or whatever lag has been suggested. So on that strength, I will not be supporting the amendment.
Thank you. Can you take your hand down, please?
I certainly will.
Thank you. There is a reason why I keep asking. Councillor Ed Mossop, please.
Yeah, I was going to say, please don't confuse this very simple proposal motion with any more further amendments. I understand what Councillor Smith has been saying with his amendment, but he was actually fairly loose about it, in fact, about the further meetings. And actually, if you start looking forward into the calendar, we've got quite a busy month in March, where we've got this opportunity that, as Councillor Leyland has outlined, that the COVID recovery plan briefing session is in the diary for the 18th of March, I think, but I'm not sure if that's the correct date, so don't put that down, anyone. But that is an opportunity, one would hope, for all councillors to be there to sort of critique the some of the recovery plan, which will obviously involve a lot of economic development elements. And then following at the end of the month, we've got a reserve members day. Well, could we possibly, front load that with some of the issues relating to what Councillor Makinson-Sanders is saying, because there's loads of good ideas there. And I think also we can take things back into the overview committee if we feel, as we have an agenda setting meeting coming up as well. But I think there's ample opportunity this month to kickstart this and get some ideas onto the table and see where they go, whether we need actually a smaller working group or the input of all councillors, at which we've all got the opportunity to go to in at least 2 meetings this month. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. Councillor Fiona Martin, please.
Well, Councillor Mossop's taken some of the words straight out of my mouth, really, because I was about to just point out that we have today had an invitation to a briefing session a week tomorrow to look at the COVID recovery plan. And I would have thought that that was a good stepping stone to launch into looking what we want to do. I don't think there's any disagreement in this chamber that we want as a council to do what we can to help not only our businesses, but our residents to recover from this dreadful time that we've had. And in that spirit, I hope we can all move forward. And I would have thought next week's briefing session was a good springboard to start deciding how we could, as a council, do some of those things in an informal session rather than a formal council meeting. So I would urge everybody to attend that meeting next week if they can. And also to say that we have, as an overview committee, already set up a small group of councillors to look at how we can scope some work coming out of COVID to look at some of the things that we need to look at scrutinising as a district for the sake of our residents. So I think some of the things we're arguing about are already in place.
Yeah, well said.
Yeah. Thank you. Councillor David Mannion, please.
Thank you. I got the impression that Councillor Makinson-Sanders was really looking to use councillors instead of officers. In my part of the world, I think the local business leaders get on very well with the officers, and in fact get on so well that sometimes they bypass me, but that is not a bad thing. I think I personally have good relationship with the business leaders in the town, and I'm not sure that a regular meeting would serve, although I think a forum to understand what business wants out of us would be a good thing, and the events later on this month should be a good forum. I think the challenge is actually where East Lindsey, I think, where I don't see much involvement so far is actually the manufacturing businesses, where I would value the support of the council in dealing better with the bigger businesses in the area. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Ellen Matthews, please. No. Right. No.
Sorry,
Councillor
Chair, to
Andrew
take my hand
Leonard. Yeah. Councillor Andrew Leonard, please.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I just think we're getting probably a little bit hung up on the detail of this as such. But on the other hand, Councillor Leyland said, well, let's see what ED comes up with and then be the critique afterwards. Well, to me, that's the wrong way around. We should be having an input now, working alongside them to assist them and give the boots on the ground view. And then hopefully what comes out the other end is the right thing for the whole community, wherever it might be, rather than waiting for them to dream something up and then everybody turn around and going, well, it's not really, and then everybody's accused then of just being, horrible about the whole situation and being critical all the time.
Mr. Chairman, can I make a point of order, please?
Yeah, certainly.
Sorry to interrupt, Councillor. I've got to say that our ED teams have been working really closely with businesses, and we've heard from Councillor Mannion that on a town and parish level, they have been engaging with businesses. So the idea that they're going to come up with something that's totally distracted from reality is really, really quite unfortunate. They have been working really well with businesses all through this. Lisa Collins and other officers, the ED team have been doing a great job, and I'm sure Councillor Grist and Councillor Kirk can testify to that and that engagement. So the opportunities that we have, as I said earlier, to use the processes that we have, the meetings that we've got set up coming forward, will be entirely the appropriate forums to bring forward everyone's ideas, listen to what's being done, additional ideas. The point of the motion is helpful, but the delivery of it through the amendment is going to be unhelpful, because this thing is already set up. I entirely agree with Councillor Mossop and Councillor Martin. This is timely and it's right. So let's get away from the fact that officers aren't engaging with businesses. They are, on a very meaningful basis.
No, thank you. Councillor,
can I just finish off before?
Yeah, I'm just coming back to you. Say
yes, thank you.
Carry on.
Yes, I wasn't actually raising the point that officers weren't consulting other people. I was just saying that we need to make sure that everybody's playing in the game and not just a select few. And certainly we as elected councillors should be in the game, if anybody should be in the game. So that is the point I make. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Adam Grist, please.
Thank you, Chairman. Well, actually, the last few speakers have just made the points I wanted to make. I think Councillor Mossop started that very well when he articulated the dates that we have in the diary and the opportunities that we've got to talk about this in a more thorough way. And I think that's already planned in any event prior to the debate this evening. I just wanted to reiterate what Councillor Leyland has said. Please don't anyone think that officers and myself and Councillor Kirk aren't talking to local businesses. We're doing that on a daily basis. I have email exchanges, telephone conversations, WhatsApp groups with local businesses, as officers do, and they are busy every single day and have been for the last few months and will continue to be so into the future, I'm sure, as we look for solutions to the challenges that we're all facing. I can't support this amendment, Chairman, for the reasons that have been stated by previous speakers. I think the sentiment for most speakers expressed this evening in this debate is good. We're all on the same page. I think we all want the same outcome. It's just how we do it. But I do think there are opportunities in the next few weeks to talk about ED and the wider challenges further, and we should embrace those rather than look to add to an already fairly bureaucratic calendar and diary of meetings. I don't think more council meetings are going to be helpful in this instance. By all means, let's try and look at innovative ways of getting together, perhaps in wider groups and on a town-by-town basis. I said that in my remarks earlier on in the debate. That's something that's happened over the last few months, and we will diarise similar meetings in the future. But let's not make this too unwieldy and bureaucratic. Yes, of course, it's important that everyone has an opportunity to have their say, but at the same time, we've got to move at a pace as well. And I think the last half an hour has demonstrated that sometimes councils aren't particularly good at getting bogged down in process rather than actually talking about the real topic, which is the ED challenge that we're facing and businesses are facing. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor. Does the seconder of the amendment wish to speak?
No, I'm fine. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. Do you wish to speak again, Councillor Phil Smith?
Chairman, sorry, it's Councillor Grist again. I'm sorry, I'm going to have to leave this meeting. I've got a parish council meeting that starts now, and if I don't jump over onto that, they will be in quorum. So I'm afraid I'm going to have to leave. Thank you.
Okay, good night.
Good night.
So, Councillor Phil Smith, did you want to come back?
All I'll say is what I was proposing was not a full council meeting in this style. It was a meeting which was like a reserved members' day, a workshop style thing where we listen to local business people, other councillors and officers, and put all the ideas in the pot. That's all I was saying. And it would be nice if that occurred on an ongoing basis. I recognise that there are things in the diary already which semi-fulfil those criteria. Thank you.
Right, thank you. And can you do a vote on this, please? Because I'm not really sure which way this is going to go.
Chair, I'm sorry to interrupt. It's Councillor Newman. Can I just take some advice as to whether I'm allowed to vote, please? I have several businesses in our district, and I just want to make sure that whether I need to declare an interest or whether I'm not allowed to vote.
We haven't got monitoring up. But John, can you advise on that?
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Councillor Newman. As the motion is a general motion, there's no issue in councillors voting on this particular motion. There's no particular financial benefit, fees, etc., contained within the motion. So, yes, you can vote on this motion.
Brilliant. Okay. Thank you, Chair.
And Mr. Chairman, can I just point out, Adam Grist did actually say that I've got somebody in the economic development team. He hasn't a clue I have put this motion to the council, and he's been dealing with grants for goodness knows how many months now. We don't ever discuss it or anything, so I don't think I really need to declare an interest.
Okay. So, Anne, can we do a vote, please?
Thank you, Chairman. Right, so for the amendment.
For the amendment.
For the amendment. So Councillor Terry Aldridge. Councillor Aldridge not in the meeting. Councillor David Andrews.
Against.
Councillor Tom Ashton.
Against.
Councillor Richard Averson.
He's absent.
Averson, sorry, absent. Councillor Stan Averson is absent. Thank you. Councillor Adrian Benjamin.
Against.
Councillor Wendy Bowkett.
Against.
Councillor Billy Brooks.
For.
Councillor Danny Brooks.
For.
Councillor Jimmy Brooks.
For.
Councillor Trevor Burnham is absent. Councillor Sandra Campbell-Wardman.
Against.
Councillor Graham Cullen.
For.
Councillor Richard Cunnington is absent. Councillor Mark Dannett is absent. Councillor Colin Davey is absent. Councillor Sid Dennis is absent, I believe. I've not noticed him join. Councillor Sarah Devereux is absent. Councillor Colin Dickinson.
Against.
Councillor Dick Edgington.
Against.
Councillor Stephen Eyre.
Against.
Councillor Martin Foster.
Against.
Councillor Richard Fry.
Against.
Councillor William Gray.
Against.
Councillor Chris Green.
Against.
Councillor Adam Grist has left the meeting. Councillor Will Grover.
Against.
Councillor Alex Hall.
Against.
Councillor David Hall.
For.
Councillor Sandra Harrison.
Against.
Councillor Paul Hibbert-Greaves.
Against.
Councillor George Horton.
Against.
Councillor Tony Howard.
For.
Councillor Ros Jackson.
For.
Councillor Neil Jones.
Against.
Councillor Thomas Kemp.
Against.
Councillor Steve Kirk is absent. Councillor Terry Knowles.
Against.
Councillor Andrew Leonard.
For.
Councillor Craig Leyland.
Against.
Councillor Jill Makinson Sanders.
Very regretfully, I'm going to abstain.
Thank you. Councillor David Manjon.
Against.
Councillor Graham Marsh.
Against.
Councillor Fiona Martin.
Against.
Councillor Helen Matthews.
Against.
Councillor Steve McMillan is absent. Councillor Daniel McNally.
Against.
Councillor Edward Mossop.
Against.
Councillor Claire Newman.
For.
Councillor Sarah Parkin. Councillor Parkin may have left the meeting. Hearing a vote from Councillor Parkin, I think she's left.
Yeah.
Yes,
Councillor
yeah.
Julie Platt. Thank you. Councillor Julie Platt.
Against.
Thank you. Councillor Paul Rickett.
Against.
Councillor Phil Smith.
For.
Councillor Jim Swanson.
I'm going to admit abstain too, please.
Thank you, Councillor. Just bear with me a moment, please, Chairman. Thank you.
Okay. Yep.
And I will have to abstain because I keep getting cut off.
Thank you, Councillor Aldridge. I did note you was absent, but you're saying that you wish your vote to be abstain.
Yes, because I keep getting logged off and I have problems logging on again.
Can I just check with the Deputy Monitoring Officer that that is in order for me to change the vote from absent to abstain, please?
Well, put it to absent. Put it down as absent then. Although I am here.
Yeah, there at the
Now.
moment. Thank you very much. Yeah. Thank you, Chairman. That was lost. That was 10 for, 29 against, two abstentions, and there were 13 absent.
Okay, thank you very much. So that amendment was lost, so we go back to the original motion. Is there anyone wishing to speak on the original motion?
Move to the vote, Chair, please, if you can.
Okay. We're now moving to the vote for the original motion.
Thank you, Chairman.
Are we not
Councillor
going to?
Aldridge.
All right.
For.
Councillor Andrews.
For.
Councillor Ashton. Councillor Ashton. I'll come back to Councillor Ashton in a moment. Councillor Avison, Richard Avison is absent. Councillor Stan Avison.
Sorry to interrupt,
Yes,
Dan. Could I just give some advice to the meeting here? I think you've had a request that the question be now put.
Yes.
Yeah, that requires to be seconded, and if the chairman thinks that's been sufficiently discussed, he can put that to the vote, and if that's passed, then the original motion, the original person has a right of reply. So it needs a seconder that the question be now put.
Yeah, I'll second the question now put, please.
John, I did ask if anyone wished to speak on the original motion and no one wished to speak. So the only thing is we should go back to Councillor Makinson Sanders, yeah?
Yes, please.
No, I suppose we should go to Councillor George Alton first because he was second.
It's to the original, the mover of the original motion.
Yeah. So don't we go to the seconder first?
The Constitution says the mover of the original motion.
Okay, then. So we go to.
He did actually reserve his right to speak, didn't he? He hasn't spoken to the motion. So that was, I was just going to ask if that was possible for him to do that.
Well, can I just very quickly, Chairman, because obviously we've discussed this for a long time, probably a bit too long. I do second the motion. There are many reasons why. I think councils, we do have a responsibility to our residents, and it is important, but there's a lot more I wanted to say, but for the sake of moving it on, I second the motion.
Okay, thank you. Did you wish to speak, Jill?
Yeah, well, yes, I will do.
Quickly.
I do apologise for not being more specific with the motion, but this was written a month ago. I didn't know that you were going to have a COVID update, and all that, you know, like I was trying to make the point, these things keep springing up and we don't know about them. And the one plea I will put when we go to the motions, one plea I really want to put to Councillor Leyland is please keep us involved. You say you're working in the background, but we don't know, and we don't know what. Nobody consults us. Nobody speaks to us. I've asked the town clerk enough. Nobody's spoken to us. Nobody's spoken to her either. And I do think it's important. We want to be involved and we want to help. And that's my plea really from all of this is please involve us more, because we've got a lot to give. And as councillors, we should be earning our money. And that was really what I wanted to say to Councillor Leyland. But I'm going to thank everybody else who commented, and I won't go through all their individual comments, except to say it's nice to hear Councillor Brooks being positive, because he's a businessman whose business has been hugely affected by the pandemic. So he understands where we're trying to come from with this. But I'll let you go to vote, because I know that you all want to go and have a cup of tea.
Okay,
So,
thank you very much
indeed for giving me another forum. Thank you.
Thank you. Can we go back to the vote then, please?
Thank you, Councillor. So on the original motion, so Councillor Aldridge. For. Councillor David Andrews.
For.
Councillor Tom Ashton. I think we've lost Councillor Ashton at the moment. I'll put him as absent for the moment. Thank you. So, Councillor Richard Avison is an apology. Councillor Stan Avison is an apology. Councillor Adrian Benjamin.
For. Apologies, and
Councillor,
I was grappling with apologies, and it's Councillor Ashton. I was grappling with my microphone. I'm for.
You're for. Thank you. That's been amended. Thank you. Councillor Ashton is for. Councillor Wendy Bowkett. For. Councillor Billy Brooks.
For.
Councillor Danny Brooks.
For.
Councillor Jimmy Brooks.
For.
Councillor Trevor Burnham is absent. Councillor Sandra Campbell-Wardman.
For.
Councillor Graham Cullen.
For.
Councillor Richard Cunnington is absent. Councillor Mark Dannett is absent. Councillor Colin Davey is absent. Councillor Sid Dennis is absent. Councillor Sarah Devereux is absent. Councillor Colleen Dickinson. 4. Councillor Dick Edgington.
4.
Councillor Stephen Eyre.
4.
Councillor Martin Foster.
4.
Councillor Richard Fry.
4.
Councillor William Gray.
4.
Councillor Chris Green.
4.
Councillor Adam Grist has left the meeting. Councillor Will Grover.
4.
Councillor Alex Hall.
4.
Councillor David Hall.
Abstain.
Thank you. Councillor Sandra Harrison.
4.
Councillor Paul Hibbert Greaves.
4.
Councillor George Horton.
4.
Councillor Tony Howard.
Abstain.
Councillor Ros Jackson.
Abstain.
Councillor Neil Jones.
4.
Councillor Thomas Kemp. Councillor Kemp. I'll come back to Councillor Kemp. Councillor Steve Kirk is absent. Councillor Terry Knowles.
4.
Councillor Andrew Leonard.
4.
Councillor Jill Makinson Sanders.
4.
Councillor David Manjon.
4.
Councillor Graham Marsh.
4.
Councillor Fiona Martin.
4.
Councillor Helen Matthews.
4.
Councillor Steve McMillan is absent. Councillor Daniel McNally.
4.
Councillor Edward Mossop.
4.
Councillor Claire Newman.
Abstain.
Councillor Sarah Parkin.
Um,
I think has left the meeting. Thank you.
Left.
Councillor Julie Platt.
4.
Councillor Paul Rickett.
4.
And Councillor Jim Swanson.
I'm 4, but I would like to talk to Tom Ashton at some point. He talked about talking to me on the telephone at the last meeting. I would like to talk to Tom Ashton.
Well, you can't at this meeting.
Mr. Chairman, I never said that.
Oh, right.
I only want Tom Ashton to talk to me.
Oh, love it.
Council protocol, Chairman, for goodness sake.
Councillor, can I just come back and check if Councillor Kemp is hearing me, if he's still in the meeting?
Yeah, sorry, you broke up, but I was for
Yeah.
the motion.
You were 4. Thank you very much. Just one
Sorry,
moment.
Anna, I don't think I was included in the vote, Councillor Leyland.
Beg your pardon, Councillor Leyland.
Thank you,
Councillor
I was-
Leyland.
Thank you. 4. Thank you.
Thank you.
I was also not included in the vote, but I don't think I can vote because I missed only the first couple of Jill's original motion, so I vote in this.
So you would abstain. Apologies for missing you out, Councillor Smith. You're abstaining.
I think I'm ineligible
Thank you.
to vote.
Thank you. One moment, please, Chairman. Thank you, Chairman. That's carried. 37 for, 5 abstentions and 12 against.
Right. Thank you very much. Thank you. So that's carried. So we move on to
Chairman, apologies for me coming in through you, Chairman. I think that would be 12 abstention, 12 absent, not 12 against. My apologies. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we move on to item 17, which is questions. To answer questions pursuant to the Council Procedure Rule 11. We have 9 questions. Question 1, Councillor Jackson to Councillor Marsh. Do you have a supplementary?
I do. I was told out of hours that there was nothing the council could do whatsoever in this very distressing case for my resident. If this council is unable to get a social landlord to respond in a reasonable time, will there be a way of recompensing residents for extra heating expenses? And will there be extra resources like heaters for weekend emergencies like these? I'm really cross about this.
Councillor Marsh.
I will respond in writing in due course.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Question 2 is Councillor Jill Making-Sanders to Councillor Martin Foster. Do you have a supplementary? From mute, Jill.
Sorry, that's unusual for me, not wanting to talk aloud, isn't it? So I just thank you to Councillor Foster. You answered my question. We've spoken about it. I just want to remind you, please, to send me the name of that of the relevant officer. Sorry, I just had a horrible gust of wind. The relevant officer for residence parking. But thank you very much indeed for your answer.
Thank you. Question 4 is Councillor George Holton to Councillor Craig Leyland, please. Have you a supplementary?
I think you've missed one out, Chair. I think you missed number 3 out.
Yeah, you're right. Very sorry. Number 3. Councillor to Councillor Graham Marsh. Have you a supplementary?
I'm sure Mr. Marsh would have been disappointed if it missed him out. However, thank you very much for your reply, Councillor Marsh. Let's say I just beg to differ. Thank you.
Thank you. Right, question 4, Councillor George Alden to Councillor Craig Leyland. Have you a supplementary?
Well, just to point out, and had I known, I wouldn't have put the question in, but I wasn't at the meeting. I did support the joint alliance, but I left the meeting, so I wasn't aware of what went on afterwards. So I do apologise for putting that question in. I didn't know.
Okay. Thank you. Question 5 is Councillor Jill Making-Sanders to Councillor Richard Fry, please. Have you a supplementary?
I don't like to get cross with Councillor Fry because he's such a nice man. But I'm sorry, I took the information for the question from the report that was sent as a late thing to overview, and it most certainly did say that the what are they called, Wilmot Dixon were contractors, and that was how the £500,000 was made up. So I just, if you could, I'm just confused. Perhaps you would like to deconfuse me.
Councillor Fry.
Yeah, absolutely happy to, Joe. I'll do so in writing. You're quite right. Wilmot Dixon are contractors.
Councillor 6. Question 6. Councillor Making-Sanders to Councillor Craig Leyland, please. I'm getting all tongue-tied here.
Oh, I don't blame you. Well, I was just going to congratulate Councillor Leyland for picking up that I made a mistake, because I do like people to get things right, don't I? It isn't an area forum. And I actually found the answer to the question useful. But thank you for that. And I hope we get the Constitution changed.
Thank you. Question 7, Councillor Andrew Leonard to Councillor Craig Leyland, please.
I have no further response, thank you. He's exemplar in his answers, as would be expected.
Thank you. Question 8 is Councillor Andrew Leonard to Councillor Adam Chris. Unfortunately, Adam Chris has left the meeting.
Well, luckily for him, I had no follow-up question, but thank you very much.
Thank you. And question 9 is Councillor Andrew Leonard to Councillor Richard Fry. Have you a supplementary?
I'm afraid you lost it, Councillor Fry. I've got to ask you a question. The simple, I take the point and it's very well made. Thank you very much. My only question is, do you foresee a problem on this subject at any stage in the future going forward in respect of how the district council uses investments to run what are essentially external companies, if you like? Thank you.
No, I don't. Oh, sorry, Chairman. As at the moment, no, I don't. I think we've got to be very careful and cautious. We've got to keep an eye on the way things change or don't change or whatever the situation is. We do have to be cautious about how we allocate our own resources and where we borrow money to initiate projects and deliver projects. And I think you're right to raise it, quite frankly. They're obviously, it's a little, it's grayer than I would like it to be, and we certainly will be cautious going forward. I thank you for the question.
Okay, thank you. Item 18 is the date of the next meeting. The programme date for the next council meeting of the council will be Wednesday, the 12th of May, 2021. And in brackets, it said it's the council's AGM. And that ends the meeting.
Chair, before you end the meeting, I did raise my hand. I want to ask a question about the date of the next meeting, because we have two pieces of legislation currently on the national books that prevent us meeting. We can neither meet face to face, nor can we meet via the Zoom method, because the temporary legislation rules out. And I wanted to ask whether yourself, the leader, or the chief executive had any update on that, because at the moment we're going to be in a limbo as to whether that meeting can take place.
Councillor Leyland's put his hand up to speak, so maybe he wishes to reply.
Thank you, Chair. Councillor Howard makes a very fair point. It is an anomaly at the moment. We are in limbo land. There was an MHCLG call today with Robert Jenrick, and the question was asked of him many times, and they will be working to resolve it. Which way it goes, or which way they're suggesting it goes, I do not know, but they're looking to resolve it so we can continue our business in a proper manner. Thank you.
Okay.
And Mr. Chairman, before you go, can I just say a big thank you for resuming the meeting? I know it's probably put quite a lot of people out, but it was nice to get through the business, and it was. I do thank you for that.
Okay, thank you very much. And that concludes the meeting. So I'll say good night to everybody.